Hello everyone, Dismissed by Sinks 204 here. I just want to take a moment to talk about the jobs that I've had and their psychological effects on me, basically. First up, from January of 2003 to November of 2005, Publix supermarkets. You know, grocery chain based right here in Florida. Probably the biggest grocery chain in the nation, even though it is not nationwide. Anyway, I worked there as a bagger. Did I say bagger? No, that's not correct. No, it's actually front service clerk. See, they want to glorify the positions by giving them fancy names. You know, oh, but cashier is still cashier. But, you know, they want to make the people at the bottom, the baggers, they want to make them feel important by calling them front service clerks. I really don't think that George Jenkins, you know, had that kind of idea in mind when he started the company in 1930. But that's not the point. The point is, for the almost 3 years that I worked for Publix, I was treated like shit on a fairly regular basis. And, you know, I admit, okay, the first 6 months, I fucked up a lot. I almost put meat in with bleach in the same bag. Someone caught me on that. I'm like, oh, well. I said, thanks for catching that for me. And I never did that since. But, you know, it was a lot of... I'd get yelled at for a lot of little things. And there eventually came a point... You know, I'd say little things like forgetting to clean the restroom or forgetting to, you know, replenish bags at a register. But it was just this build-up over time. I think the first time I really, like, exploded on somebody had to have been only 3 or 4 months into my time there. But, some of the stock clerks I worked with were just real assholes to me. It's like they noticed, they could sense right away that I was different, or, in their words, retarded, or gay! Which I'm not either one. But, you know, that's... You know, they basically wanted to combine the two. Yeah, imagine life as a gay retard. Imagine that. That would be terrible. No, but these guys were such dicks. I had maybe 3 stock clerks that I worked with who were actually my friends. But worse than that, you know, The customer service manager, let's see, all 3 of the customer service managers I worked under while I was there were all black women. The first one, you know, she was such a fucking racist. This woman would literally yell at me just for being white. You know? And one time, I guess I forgot to shave my beard. She pulled me aside to yell at me about that. I'm like, hey, I just forgot to shave, okay? I'll do it when I get home. It's just this... Then I had a grocery manager who kept insisting that I was gay. Because, you know, he'd never seen me with a woman. I'm like, maybe I don't want you people in my private life. Of course, when it came to the opposite sex, things were pretty bad. And I also gave some of the stock clerks even more of a reason to hate me because, you know, they would date some of the cashiers who were, I gotta say, these girls were fucking beautiful. But the stock clerks would give me shit because, you know, I'd be hitting on them. So, when you're around the opposite sex, or if you're gay, around the same, if you're around people you're attracted to well, if you're just around people, period, you become attracted to some of them, and you're just like, yeah, you know, I want to turn on the old charm. Didn't ever work. Nope. Seemed like all the girls at Publix were resistant. And God, I finally very openly told one girl how I felt about her, and she's like, thanks, but you know, I have a boyfriend. It's like, and then I jumped her best friend's shit because, you know, to her it was just a funny little game. But yeah, you know, I want to backtrack a little and go back to the customers. Now, I had some really good customers, like, most of them were old people. Like this guy Jim. He always called me Jim. So, you know, I remember one time I was real sick, and he saw that, and he went inside, told the manager, said, hey, I think you ought to let Jim go home, because he looks terrible. Yeah, he was talking about me, obviously. I said, oh, thanks, Jim. Thanks. And, you know, the closing manager that night decided, well, yeah, you probably should go home, James. But see, that's one of the few good things. But customers, for the most part, were just fucking assholes. Most of whom were black. And yeah, it's unfortunate. Because, I mean, I worked in a very black and Hispanic, you know, dominated area. And it's kind of weird because I adopted a lot of their mannerisms, but at the same time I grew to also have a distaste, a distrust towards these people. So I was very confused. And it didn't really help me out much. One of the funniest things, actually I'm going to cite two examples of shitty treatment by customers. There's just two I can think of off the top of my head. The first one was, it was getting late one night, we were about to close, and this fat ass white couple comes up to the register and says, hey, you gonna open? I'm like, no, I'm just cleaning. Like, you little motherfucker, you need to open up, we've been shopping there. I'm like, sir, I'm just a bagger. I have no cashier experience. I'm clean. And this guy continued to yell at me. And then finally, one of the girls from customer service had to step in and tell them off. You know, it's like, so if you need to be checked out so bad, just come on over to customer service. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. That was the end of that. And there was another one. And I'm so glad that the assistant manager was around. I was outside grabbing carts to bring them back in the store so I could resume bagging. And this black woman comes in I guess she was on like a cane or something. I don't know what. But she comes in, she's just yelling and screaming at me. I called for you and you didn't help me. You just turn around and you walk in like, And I'm like, help, help. And finally, the assistant manager comes over. Yeah, his name is Chip. He was a very good guy. Chip comes over. He's like, ma'am, is there a problem? He's like, yes, this young man would not help me because I am disabled and blah. He's like, and Chip asked me, he says, James, why could I said, probably because I couldn't hear her over the sound of the carts. And I don't know what it was, but Chip just decided, okay, well, you know, my bagger here couldn't hear you. He's like, that's just an and she storms out of the store mad as hell. And Chip and I turn to each other, and Chip's like, he was like, don't worry, I wouldn't worry about that bitch. I mean, he said that stuff under his breath so no other customers could hear, but I was like, yeah, right. So, I mean, that's just... like I said, I had a few friends there. Some people I still talk to this day, like... Actually, there's really only one person I talk to. My friend Jess. Short blonde girl. She was like one of my best friends at that store. There's another woman, Christine, but she mostly went by Chris because, you know, it was a more masculine thing given that, you know, she was a lesbian. But, you know, she was one of the very few people who genuinely treated me with respect. Who probably platonically loved me. And, you know, that's that kind of closeness that, you know, that I accepted. But ultimately, I got fired from Publix because I had already had 2 strikes against me. The first one was I refused to bag someone's... I mean, I always had a problem with paper bag orders, but I guess one night it just got to be too much for the managers. So I got written up for refusing to bag someone's paper bag order. And then the second strike was I came to work high on a mixture of cold and allergy medicines. And I was also hungover. So I became disoriented, thought I was in my neighborhood, and this family was asking me like some kind of question, and I started cursing them out, and I'm like, then as soon as the store manager walked out, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I know where I am now. I'm not at home. I was embarrassed, and I was sent home after 1 hour of work and suspended for that week. And then about 7 months later, yeah, I can't believe I actually went that long without another big incident, but 7 months later, I come into work one morning, it was a Saturday, and I'm pissed off because I have to like arrange everything because the closing baggers who worked the night before didn't stay in close. As soon as the time clock hit 9 o'clock, they were out of there. And I was just like, that's bullshit. So I was pissed off about that, and then this black couple, yeah, here we go again with the racism, I know, shut the fuck up. Anyway, they come in the line, and, you know, they've got some sodas on the bottom part of their cart, and cashier, lovely older lady, you know, everybody knows her, everybody loves her, you know, we had changed policies about, you know, multiple items, and used to be that you could put like 1 12-pack of soda on the conveyor and say, oh, I've got 3 more down on the bottom, and, you know, just take the 1 and ring them up 3 more times after the first time. So, but we changed it so that you had to put them all on the conveyor. It was new manager's rules. But this cashier was doing it the old way, and I said, no, you gotta follow. I don't know what possessed me to do that in the first place. Like I said, I was pissed off. I was already pissed. And then I started yelling at this couple, accusing them of stealing, and this white lady behind them started yelling back at me, and I'm like, you stay out of this. And, yeah, I got a little talking to from the manager about it, and they continued. Now, here's what's fucking crazy. They continued to allow me to work the rest of that shift, and by the end of the day at 5:30, I get called up into the manager's office, and the assistant manager's like, okay, well, you know, we're gonna have to suspend you pending discharge. Okay? I'm like, okay, well, I was really hoping I wasn't gonna lose my job, but, you know, in the back of my mind, I pretty much knew that was it. I just, yeah, my time at Publix was done. So, 28 months later, I finally get on at Target. This after a 7-week wait. I was hired in January, couldn't start for another 7 weeks because they didn't have anyone to organize like an orientation. I'm actually starting to get tired of talking about this, but because I should be over it. But I just figured you all should know a little something. So at the end of February in 2008, I begin my first shift at Target. I was hired to be a cart attendant. And, you know, I was trained by this kid. He was 17 at the time, and I was 23. But he was cool. I mean, the job, after a couple weeks, it became simplified for me, and I was like, okay, I understand enough of it to go on my own. So I did. Now, things seem to be going pretty well. I mean, yeah, it was like any job, you know, you get yelled at for making little mistakes your first few months there, but I was actually very, very surprised. Well, the first major thing anybody got on to me about was I wanted to take time off and go to Sarasota. Well, actually, I didn't want to at first, but then I changed my mind because I said, well, maybe I just want to go for 3 days, and they reluctantly let me do that. They should have just refused outright, and I could have stayed and worked, but I don't know. I just felt like I needed to get away for a few days. But the funny thing was, toward the end of June that year, I was surprised to find out that for the month of June, I had been recognized as Employee of the Month. Now, that was the first time I'd ever, you know, had that honor. Needless to say, it gave me a big head. You know? I started thinking I was the shit. It's kind of like, you know, how you have sex for the first time and then you just want it more and more and more and more. It just drives you fucking crazy, and this kind of has something to do with that, which I'll explain later. Now, there had been a few changes in management over the course of the year, and let's just say that a lot of people did not take kindly to these new managers. I know I didn't. And the thing was, with Target, the customers weren't necessarily... I mean, yeah, we had some assholes, like this one woman who yelled at me because I didn't know what the fuck Bakugan was. It's some kind of one of the Japanese crazes that come over here. Some kind of fucking bullshit. I still don't care to know really what Bakugan is. That's like, number one, I don't work in this department, toys, and number two, don't yell at me because I don't know something. I mean, I'm guessing what? Your kid was born what? 2000, 2001? I mean, I was born in 1984. So, of course I'm not going to have knowledge of, you know, a lot of shit that's popular in 2008. It's because, you know, I kind of try to stay in my own little world. But anyway, we had some asshole customers. But, no, this time the managers were the problem. There's only one really good manager there. His name was Brian. Yeah, he was one of your do-goody Christian types, but he didn't try to like push that on anybody. But he was just an all-around great guy. I had a lot of respect for him. It's just everyone else I could care less about, so I've mentioned this to a lot of people. There was a change in leadership in the HR department of the store, and I'm not going to say her name, but this girl and I, we had an instant connection, you know, a friendship. Of course, they say, you know, you can't date anybody in HR, which, yeah, that's fine. That wasn't even my intention with her. It just, I don't know. For the longest time, she favored me. She would let me come in at random moments and just talk to her, even while I was supposed to be working. And, you know, I suspected that there was something to this. And I thought, well, you know, she's my age, you know, she's young, and I don't know. The thing was, you know, she was already married. But I kind of had this notion that maybe she might have had a little crush on me. Maybe. I mean, I don't wanna like make any false statements or accusations, but it was. And I thought, you know, maybe that's why she treated me the way she did. It's, you know, and it was all, I'd say it's alright if she did. I mean, she obviously couldn't act on it, but, you know, because I'm not a terrible looking guy. I mean, I have my esteem issues, but I know I'm not that bad looking. No, it's just, everything was fine. Then she noticed that I started getting a little chummy with another girl who was promoted from, actually I should say demoted from being security to working the sales floor. The infamous Carrie, as I like to call her. I mean, that is her name, but not the infamous, but just Carrie. But anyway, she starts noticing that I'm, you know, becoming chummy with Carrie. And, you know, the HR girl, she gets... My theory was that she noticed this and she started kind of getting jealous. But see, Carrie was also married. And clearly wanted nothing to do with me in a romantic sense. So the other woman really had nothing to worry about. At least in her mind. Problem was, I did want to pursue something with Carrie, because I thought, well, you know, marriages don't fucking last anymore anyway, so what's the point? I mean, might as well have some fun. Now, why am I focusing on this so much? Well, it seems that, you know, working at Target, I began to care less and less about my job and more about, you know, putting my dick in something or someone. Hey, don't get me wrong, a lot of the people I worked with were cool as shit. I mean, there were some jerk-offs, but, you know, whatever. Those people didn't matter to me at the end of the day. But, you know, I still talk to a lot of my former Target coworkers. Because, you know, these are people I obviously got along with. And that's fine, but, you know, in my quest to get laid by somebody from that store, I forgot about my job. I forgot about, you know, the importance of the job. And, I mean, towards the end, you know, the new, manager, the person that was the head of my department that I worked in just kept calling me in every other day and coaching me, you know, I guess a verbal reprimand for just little things. It's like, excuse me, do you have something against me because you went to Florida State University and, you know, I'm a University of Florida supporter? Is that what that... I think that was part of it. He wanted to pick on me because I was a Gator fan. Fuck you, because while I worked there, while you and I both worked there, crazy bitch, the Gators won a fucking national title in football! Anyway, no, I just... It all came to a head. I was just so damn tired of people, you know, scrutinizing the whole, my whole friendship with Carrie. I got tired of people being up my ass about it, and I got tired of people telling her, oh, stay away from James, he's crazy. Well, can't say they were wrong, but I was trying to be the good guy. I really was, and a lot of good that did. But anyway, one night it all came to a head. I got so... And the HR girl just happened to be closing manager along with another. I don't know why there were two closers that night, but there were. I'm collecting carts in the parking lot. And this asshole is sitting in his car just waiting for a bike. But he doesn't seem to understand that I'm gathering carts, and it's going to take me a minute to gather all the carts in that one space and start pulling them away. So when he does finally get a parking spot, he gets out, and we have an exchange of words. I flip him off, and I go on about my business. Then I get called up to the office, but I have to wait like 45 minutes because those managers are in there dealing with someone else. And then they finally get to me, and both of the managers are like, James, you don't care about your job. All you care about is getting those carts. And it's like, that's not all your job. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to I said, I don't want to listen to this. I really don't. And later that night I got kind of mad because, I was wondering where the hell somebody was to come pick me up, so I was yelling over the phone, and the HR person was like, well, you know what, you're scaring everybody and you need to get off your phone anyway. And it was just like, we're closed. I can be on the phone if I want. I've already clocked out, you crazy bitch. Oh man, I was so fucking pissed. And then I yelled at her the next day. And I decided I was going to go home an hour and a half early. Because I just felt like I did not need to be there. It was, needless to say, it was Memorial Day weekend 2009, so I get on the computer, type up a couple of angry blogs on the MySpace about her, saying that I wish she was beaten, raped, and burned alive. I kind of let that go, for a little bit anyway. And I remember I went to work on a Wednesday, a couple days later, and Carrie was telling me that she had been called up by the HR manager to talk about me. And she was trying to get dirt on me. And probably some other stuff that I didn't even know about in their conversation. And I was conversing with her while I was actually supposed to be standing out handing umbrella bags to people as they walked in because it was a particularly rainy morning. And the HR manager got pissed at me because I wasn't doing that, and I said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do my job, so let me do it. But every member of management, except for Brian, he's sitting there at Food Avenue getting such a big kick out of it. But see, everybody loved it. They loved it when I had an outburst. Not at my expense. They were actually, they were actually cheering for me. They loved it when I got mad because, it showed everyone that, we're human beings. We're not machines. So, of course, management doesn't take too kindly to that sort of thing, and I actually yelled at a district head because he saw me take the cart machine over a bump, and he thought I might have damaged it. I said, I want to see your credentials. I said, you don't come up in here telling me how to use this equipment, because I bet you don't even work for the company. Only to find out 5 minutes later that he does indeed work for the company. So yeah, not good. So anyway, I go to work. It was a Thursday night. I go to work, and right away, the new AP manager, new security head, he's like, James, you feeling all right? Is everything okay? He's like, I just want to talk to you. I'm like, I know what this is about, and I'm done here. Sure enough, there were some district people in there, and apparently there was an officer waiting to arrest me. Turns out they didn't need him. But I guess that was just in case I went off. In case I fucking went off. But no, everything was calm. I had to call and tell my mom the bad news that I had been fired for posting stuff on MySpace. And the thing about that was, management could, even if you had your stuff private, they could find a way in just to see if you're talking shit about the company. But I was the primary target. They didn't care if anybody else did it. They cared if I did it. So, the end of May in 2009, I found myself without a job. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I am a pain in the ass to work with. I know that. I have come to realize that. But maybe if people just tried to be a little bit more patient with me, tried to be more accepting, I wouldn't be that way in the workplace. That's all I'm saying. I would not be that way. I would not be a belligerent, know-it-all asshole. But I digress. I'm in the process of looking for work, still, after about 19 months. It just doesn't seem like I'm getting anywhere, but I don't really want to talk about that. The thing is, the point of this was to give my work history. And, you know, I'm not a bad person. I'm not. I just make bad decisions. Costly decisions. Now, you know, I don't know. I think I'm just done here. That's enough.